Hello, my name is Joanna. I'm a counselor, speaker, and author, and I'm founder of Wounds to Scars, where we work with adult survivors of childhood trauma and women who experience abuse. We do that through conferences, retreats, and online courses. We also have a counseling agency. I put all the details in the description below. So today I'm talking about living with somebody who is emotionally available, or at least being aware of the people in your life who is emotionally unavailable. So I like to ask when I'm in groups, when I'm doing any one of our online groups or anything like that, whether who are the people in your life that is emotionally available? Who are the people that offers emotional support? And there are times when there's no one, which is a challenging thing, but it's also a really good thing to know. Who are the people that offers emotional support? Who are the people in my life that is emotionally available? Where can I go for support? Because when we don't know, then we're constantly hitting a wall and we're hurting ourselves and we're going around in this circle that can be really destructive and harmful and create wounds of our own because we're going for support, going to the wrong people for support, and they can't offer us support. Now it's really difficult because some of these people that we're going to for support are parents, they're caregivers, they are spouses, partners. And when I'm talking to you who have experienced childhood trauma, and so sometimes we grow up not having that support. We grow up not having anybody who is emotionally available to us. And even as adults, we still crave that because the child that was wounded and didn't have emotional support really still needs it. Not that you're still a child, but those events are recorded. They are in the brain, they're in our nervous system. And because we've grown chronologically, doesn't mean that those wounds are not still there that needs healing. So I'm going to talk about that just in the next couple of minutes. So the people that are emotionally available might be a parent or parents. They might be a partner or your child, your adult child that's emotionally unavailable, right? And sometimes you might hear that people say to you that you aren't emotionally unavailable to them. So if you see yourself in this in any way, I always say don't see this as judgment, see this as information. And when we have information, then it gives us the basis to make good decisions. So it's important to do that. So I also want to add, if you have seen yourself in this, I've just written a blog post that's going to probably be available this week about avoidant attached and how we show up in relationships. And sometimes the avoidant attached pattern can show up as emotional availability. But I'm going to let you put that link in the description later on when the blog post is available, and you can go have a read to see if you see yourself reflecting in any one of those scenarios. But for now, the emotionally available person has difficulty expressing emotions or coping with feelings. Not only their own, but they'll have difficulty coping with yours as well. Sometimes these people are only content with anger. Anger is their safe emotion. Anger is the place where they go hide. And anger might look like different things. They might be dismissive. They might appear uncaring, and distant and cold. So these people have difficulty being close to anyone or allowing anyone to be close to them. Now, they might have friends, they might have partners, they might get married, have children, but there's still a distance. There's a gap between you and them because they have difficulty allowing anybody to come too close. And that's because of a wound that's there, that's unhealed, right? They can't come close. They can't allow you to come close. But I'll say some more about that later on. So also the person who is emotionally available might appear standoffish. They will be dismissive of your feelings. And so these are the people who really have difficulty apologizing. You will say, when you do this, this is what happened. I felt hurt when and you can fill in the blanks, but they'll often come back really hard. And as we work in a Christian scenario, sometimes these people will come back with scriptures and as a reason or a justification for their actions, which can make it even more painful for you because they are using something that you trust to tell you that you shouldn't be hurt by their actions. And that's extremely damaging. And that's where religious abuse also adds to, whatever emotional or psychological harm that's been created by the person who has no emotional availability. Okay, so they might appear unsympathetic, and definitely they have no empathy. So that they are not people that you can go to and expect to be heard. They can't hear you. They cannot, and when I say hear you, they might hear what you say, but they can't hear how you say it. They can't hear your pain. They can't hear your sadness or your sorrow. These are the people who will want to fix it really quickly so that you can be okay and you can move on, because for them that's more comfortable. And if you're taking long to be fixed because of the menu of choices and options that they've given you and all the solutions that they've thrown at your problem, and if you take long to be fixed, they'll get frustrated, and then you'll see a side of them come out that's really unsympathetic, mean, and can be harmful too. So these people might apologize without seeming sincere. Like, okay, then, since you say I hurt you, all right then. If I hurt you, I apologize. That's never an apology, by the way. Anybody who starts an apology with if, it's not an apology. If I hurt you, I apologize. Well, I'm sorry if I hurt you then. Well, well, if you say I did that, but because you did this, so they are apologizing, but it's not sincere, and you're not experiencing the sorry that they're saying they are. And they do life from a thinking place, a place that, because that's where they can cope, because they can't cope with feelings. So, and that's why the apology is difficult for them, because they can't allow themselves to hear that they've hurt you. They can't allow themselves to hear that when you did this, or I felt hurt by your actions. I felt hurt when you did this. Whenever you do these things, I am hurt. These actions, I've asked you not to do this, this, and this, but you continue to do it, and this feels really hurtful to me. They won't allow themselves to hear that, because that would mean that they have to feel, they have to experience, and they have to experience your pain, and they can't allow themselves to experience theirs, so they can't experience yours. And so what they'll often do is go into anger to shut it down, or they'll project, they'll blame, and they'll make you the reason for you being hurt. And then, of course, that can be damaging and hurtful to you. So they might struggle with your tears. So if you cry, they'll struggle with your tears. They'll call you names. They'll tell you you're being childish. They'll tell you it wasn't that bad. They'll really minimize it. And as they are minimizing it, that's really damaging, and again, for you. And there's no other word for this than abusive, right? They'll really be a minimizing of the impact of their actions on you. And there's no other word for it than abuse. It's psychological abuse, right? So they might struggle with your tears. They might even agree or understand that they've hurt you, but they will not do that verbally. They will struggle to maintain close personal relationships. People who are emotionally unavailable, they might have a lot of people in their lives, but there's nobody that's close enough to be a dear friend, or anybody who they share their joys and their sorrows with, because they have to protect themselves, and so they won't allow anybody close. And they'll struggle to be loving and affectionate. As I say, they do life mostly from a thinking place, so they'll struggle to be loving and affectionate. So here's some things to manage to be able to navigate this space, depending on who these people are or this person is that is emotionally unavailable. So if it's a parent, if it's a parent and you're an adult, well, you're only adults here over 16. So if it's a parent that you've seen this inconsistently over many years, I have 2 journals that I wrote, Father and Me and Mother and Me, specifically for daughters who are dealing with parents that are emotionally unavailable. So these are some of the things that are in there. Like, so if it's your parent, I want to say make peace with it. You have to make peace with the fact that they aren't available, and that there's nothing that you can do that's going to change that for them or for you. It really is important to make peace. And I know you can't make peace with it on your own without getting support. So it's really important that if you know, find a way with support to make peace with the fact that my parents are emotionally unavailable. It doesn't mean you don't deserve good, nurturing, kind, compassionate, loving, gentle parents. You deserve it. You were supposed to have it. It just means that they can't give it. and chances are they won't. And there's going to be this pattern of harm that is perpetrated because whenever you go in and go close, ask for an apology, express a hurt, express sadness, any feeling, any emotion, the comeback is going to be damaging for you always. So it's really important that you make peace with it. And making peace with it looks like mourning the loss of what you never had. Mourning the fact that my parents were never emotionally available. They were physically abusive sometimes emotionally abusive. I experienced severe neglect. I experienced emotional harm from them because of that. I was gaslighted. I was emotionally abused. And these are my truth. This is my truth. And I'm going to be with the truth. You may have come to a place where you're forgiven or you desire to forgive. It doesn't change the fact that the lack of emotional availability would have created a wound for you. And the wound plays out in other relationships where you struggle to be emotionally available to others and to self. And sometimes the people we abandon easiest is ourselves when we experience that. So sometimes we do, when people experience it, they make decisions to be better parents. I'm going to be a better mom than my mom was. Or I'm going to be a better parent than my parents were. Or better caregiver than my caregiver was. But without a template, without a blueprint, chances are we'll repeat some of those same experiences. I don't want to be my mother, but check the lives of your children and you'll see footprints of her all over their lives. Now, that's because we values are learned, and so we learn a certain thing, and that's the thing we pass on. We have to learn the process of rewriting that thing, of changing the narrative, of changing the story, but we have to process the story in order to change it. Otherwise, we're going to live it out in our relationships. So recognize it and mourn it. Mourn it so you can make peace with it. Get support to build relationships that are healthy and that can resource you in this emotional way. And I always say to people, there are people out there that can provide emotional support. Sometimes when we look around, we might feel like there's never anybody that does that, but there's usually somebody somewhere. And we have many different ways that we do in Wilson's Cars when we're helping people to heal these kind of injuries that will teach them, the people who were resourceful, or where to get resource from in order to heal those wounds so that you can move on. And you see me looking around. I was looking for my journal that I've just finished editing called Storm Chaser, and we do a group a course that is 6 weeks. I think we're in week 4 this Thursday, and that's around healing and building emotional safety in the relationships that we have. So there are ways to heal it. There are ways to recognize it, heal it, and move forward. And this journal is based on Isaiah, the book of Isaiah. So if it's a parent, just as I said, spend some time with people who can meet your needs. So really important to acknowledge emotional needs are not neediness. It's a need that we were created with, and it should be met. And if our parents can't meet it and our caregivers can't meet it, then we have to find support and places and ways to meet that need, because it doesn't go away because we ignore it. It just stays there and the wound becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and the pain becomes more. Okay. If it's your spouse, I really want you to hear this. If it's your spouse, it's not your fault. Their lack of emotional availability is not your fault. Oftentimes, you will be blamed for them not being able to be affectionate. Their lack of compassion, their lack of empathy, their lack of understanding, their lack of sympathy, their lack of emotions, their lack of feelings, you'll be blamed. This is called abuse, right? If it's a spouse, emotional unavailability often also goes with emotional abuse. It's not your fault. You are not needy and you're not emotional. These are words that I hear women say all the time when they come. I'm needy, I'm emotional. You are not needy, you're not emotional. You are created to connect. You are created with these needs. It's unfortunate that the partner that you have is unable to meet those needs. And I really want you to hear they are unable to do it. And you can't do anything that's going to make them have the ability to do it. You can't fast enough or long enough for them to be able to do that. Okay. This is something that they really have to work on. This is something that they have to acknowledge, become aware of, acknowledge, and choose to get support in. This is, you can't fix it. It's their journey, their path. You can support the journey if you choose to, but it's not your fault and you can't heal it. So and you cannot, sisters, you cannot change enough to cause them to change. You can't change enough to cause them to be able to meet your needs. So you might feel, oh, well, if I don't need this, or if I don't need this, if I just sacrifice some more, or if I just do this, if I just, you can't change enough to make them meet your needs. Your needs is not going to go away because you deny it. It's not, because you were created with them. And it really is a part of us that makes relationships safe and connected and beautiful and secure, when we can both meet each other's needs. And again, this is not your fault. You can't change enough. The problem is with them and their unresolved trauma, and only they can get help to resolve the unresolved stuff. So this is really a short snippet of some of the ways emotional availability can show up in your relationships, some of the people that might be emotionally available, what it might look like. And what I want you to take away from this is that it's not your fault. You didn't do anything to cause this person to not be available to you emotionally, and you can't do anything to make them become emotionally availability. If you are listening and you've realized that you are not available emotionally, that's a massive place to be. And that's a really great place to be. It's an honest place to be. I would advise that you start the work of healing now. If you're here and you're listening and you've experienced emotional harm, emotional abuse due to the unavailability of a partner or a parent growing up, I want you to know that you can get help and healing, and you're not needy. It's not your fault, and you didn't do anything to cause it. Right. So thank you so much for listening to our video. Thank you for liking and subscribing and sharing our videos. We see that you are sharing. We're grateful. We're thankful. Please share it with your family and friends and invite them to participate. I also want to tell you about our conference, Journey to Freedom virtual online conference. We have one every year, and this year is March 25 to 27. We have some amazing speakers lined up and 3 packed days of resources, information, and healing. The link is going to be in the description. Join us for this amazing conference and come and get the springboard that you need to start your healing journey or continue your healing journey. If you've been on your journey for a while, we have an amazing community of people who are doing post-trauma or post-recovery work. Come and join our community and let us continue to grow together and expand to be the people that we were meant to be. Take care.